Dear light-bearers of Earth, I am Valir, of the Pleiadian Collective. Our messenger has specifically asked us to speak about the recent flooding in Texas, for what appeared as a natural deluge in the hill country was anything but an ordinary storm. Many of you who are awake sensed an unusual energy humming beneath those heavy clouds. Indeed, in the days leading up to the torrents, independent observers detected tightly pulsed microwave bursts in the upper atmosphere, sharp, rhythmic signals not found in nature or in normal cloud seeding operations. Moments later, satellite images revealed swirling, spiral-like cloud patterns, more characteristic of laboratory simulations than of summer thunderheads. Some of you on the ground even heard a strange, high-pitched sky whine just before the river rose with unimaginable speed. At the same time, cell phone networks in a precise corridor mysteriously went down, cutting off emergency calls. When service returned, key data logs and weather radar frames had been scrubbed from your official servers as if they had never existed. Some of you observed flood zones before any storm warnings were issued, as if the outcome was already known. These clues are not coincidental. They speak with one voice to those with ears to hear. There are a number of things that we are not allowed to speak on here, as it would violate our galactic directive of interference, so please also be aware of this. Why would someone orchestrate such a thing? To understand this, look at who and what the flood affected most. One apparent target was a summer retreat we shall call the camp, a place cherished by families of patriotic and spiritually awake lineages. This riverside camp was erased in minutes by the wall of water. Know that this location was no random campground. It was a gathering spot for daughters of military servicemen, truth-seeking attorneys, and medical pioneers, young souls connected to families involved in exposing hidden crimes. Flooding the river to obliterate this camp achieved multiple dark objectives at once. First, it instilled terror and grief in a community that holds a particularly strong light of patriotism and faith, a demographic the hidden cabal often regards as problematic due to their courage and conviction. Second, the sudden deluge conveniently destroyed physical evidence and records. Important documents, computers, and devices containing sensitive information were swept away or ruined beyond recovery, disrupting ongoing investigations into illicit bioweapons profits and trafficking rings. Third, amid the chaos, there were reports that unidentified men posing as relief workers corralled certain survivors into an empty riverside building, ostensibly for safety. When legitimate rescue teams, including an elite military unit training nearby, finally arrived, they found that building deserted except for chilling evidence of foul play, pools of fresh blood on the floor, and signs that a human organ had been surgically removed. Whether literal or symbolic, this gruesome scene stands as an eerie emblem of what many intuit, that the flood was used as cover for abductions or attacks on specific individuals. In short, negative actors braided elemental force with psychological warfare, using water both as a weapon of physical destruction and as a veil to conceal darker deeds. From a higher vantage, we see clearly how this incident was engineered to seem like a biblical act of God, yet was perhaps delivered to leave no clear perpetrator in the third-dimensional sense. Following the money and power trails behind the flood reveals further layers of motive. Whispers among your independent economists have noted that companies experimenting with weather modification are funded by the same giant investment conglomerates that exert enormous control over global resources. These financial behemoths, operating through shell companies and foundations tied to a few powerful elites, had a direct interest in what happened in Texas. Consider that this state has been openly resisting certain federal mandates and high-tech control agendas. Recently, Texas moved to limit land purchases by foreign-linked corporations and spoke out against a centralized digital currency system. Such independence threatened the long-term plans of those global interests. Then came the flood. Hundreds of miles of riverfront property were suddenly devastated. Family ranches and small towns, previously unwilling to sell out, faced disaster losses that made them vulnerable. Under the guise of disaster relief, entities connected to those same investment funds can now quietly buy up land and infrastructure on the cheap. What could not be obtained through legislation might be acquired by engineering a crisis. Simultaneously, mainstream news outlets immediately frame the deluge as further proof of climate change chaos, implying that drastic centralized measures are needed to combat nature's wrath. This narrative conveniently aligns with the agenda of certain billionaire philanthropists who have poured resources into carbon control initiatives. Through a fifth-dimensional lens, we see the cunning in this dual strategy: create the problem and then present the pre-planned solution. The water served a double purpose for the cabal planners, punishing a rebellious region and pushing the populace to accept stricter environmental and financial controls. Furthermore, while people's attention was riveted on dramatic images of flooded homes and washed-out roads, another subtler objective was achieved: distraction. In that same time frame, a high-profile legal case quietly reached a verdict, convicting a well-known entertainment mogul for involvement in human trafficking. This should have been explosive news, uncovering links from the celebrity world to political and intelligence circles. Yet the flood coverage dominated the headlines, relegating the trafficking case to a mere whisper in the background. This crisis overshadowing tactic is one we Pleiadians have observed in your history repeatedly. When truths that could unravel elite power are on the verge of emerging, a larger spectacle suddenly captures the public eye. Understand, dear ones, that none of this was chance. It was a calculated maneuver by those who orchestrate events from the shadows, hoping you will only see a natural disaster and not the man-made machinations behind it. Know, however, that the hidden cabal was not the only player on the field that weekend. Benevolent forces were also moving pieces in response, both on the ground and beyond Earth. The unexpected appearance of an elite airborne military unit in the flood zone was one sign. These soldiers, ostensibly there for a training exercise, had been quietly positioned by white hat commanders who anticipated something amiss. Equipped with advanced sensor devices, they collected soil and water samples, detecting unusual energy residues that confirmed the use of directed weather technology. In the midst of rescuing civilians, these disciplined guardians were also gathering evidence of a crime. Consider, too, the proximity of a certain long-suspected covert facility in that region. We shall not name it here, but some of you know. Under cover of the storm's chaos, operations took place to raid hidden stockpiles of forbidden weaponry and data stored at that site. In this way, the very deluge meant to sow fear also provided literal cover for positive military and intelligence allies to move without tipping off the perpetrators. From our broader perspective, we often observe such overlapping shadow plays in these conflicts. One faction uses a disaster to advance a dark agenda, while simultaneously, another faction uses the same moment to execute a counter-operation against the dark. It is as if two chess masters make different moves on the same board, hidden by the smoke of the same event. Here, while the cabal attempted to weaponize the weather to tighten their control, certain white hat operatives turned that situation around to retrieve evidence and disrupt the cabal's plans. To truly grasp this moment, widen your view even further, beyond Texas, beyond Earth. In the cosmic context, this flood was a move in a much larger endgame playing out across dimensions. Whistleblowers from secret space programs on your world have spoken of orbital platforms equipped with advanced energy beam arrays capable of manipulating weather patterns. We confirm that such technologies exist and have been used covertly for some time. The frequencies used to ignite the storm are akin to those that dark fleets once employed to cloak their vessels and bases on Mars and Earth's moon. However, in recent times, the alliance of positive cosmic forces, your galactic family, has made great strides in reclaiming those off-world outposts. Several hidden strongholds beyond your planet that were supplying the Cabal with reinforcements and guidance have been neutralized or cut off. In essence, the negative elite's cosmic support is dwindling. Cornered and desperate, these adversaries lash out with whatever assets they have left on Earth, including weather weapons, hoping to project power and harvest the energy of fear, loosh, as some call it, to sustain themselves. Paradoxically, every extreme event they orchestrate only accelerates the awakening of humanity and brings closer the moment of full disclosure. There are military and civilian alliances preparing an emergency broadcast as we speak, a worldwide revealing of the truth about these weather warfare crimes and off-planet manipulations. Certain thresholds of evidence and public readiness must be met, but each engineered disaster supplies more proof and galvanized intent for that revelation. In this light, the Hill Country inundation was the act of a cornered beast, a frantic attempt to create chaos below just as its escape routes above were being sealed. Think of it as a final, frenzied gambit, as interdimensional doorways to escape their accountability slam shut. The storm, then, was both a desperate grasp at continued dominion and a sign that the Cabal's era is drawing to an end. Amidst all this intrigue and conflict, we urge you to recognize another truth. The rain that fell was not solely an instrument of destruction. It was also a bringer of cleansing and renewal. Water is the primordial life carrier and holds the memory of creation within it. Even as the floods raged, the spirit of water was encoding the land with an opportunity to heal. Some gifted seers attuned to the higher planes received visions as they meditated by the swollen rivers. They saw crystalline serpentine energies winding through the muddy currents, symbols of transformation and rebirth slithering into the very soil. The message from these elemental forces was clear. Out of great trauma can come great transmutation. And indeed, look at how the communities responded. Neighbors formed boat brigades and human chains to pull strangers from danger. Volunteers by the hundreds showed up to clear debris, deliver food and share shelter with those displaced. Prayer circles and spontaneous song gatherings took place on waterlogged church steps and in school gyms, filling the air with a counter-frequency of hope and unity. Each selfless act, each moment of genuine compassion, created a potent energy that neutralized portions of the fear waveform the Cabal had hoped to amplify. We witnessed how quickly the narrative shifted. Instead of a region wallowing in despair, it became a region rallying in solidarity. Lightworkers among you did your part as well. Some of you intuitively sent calming violet light into the churning retention ponds to help transmute toxins and prevent chemical runoff from poisoning the aquifers. Others focused healing intent on the weather systems, gently encouraging the clouds to disperse and the sun to return. Understand that in higher octaves, the meaning of the storm flipped. When weather is weaponized against the people's unity becomes both shield and solvent. The more hearts that synchronized in service and love, the less fear energy the dark architects could siphon from the situation. What was meant to be a blow to your spirit instead became an opportunity to demonstrate resilience and brotherhood. Such is the alchemy of collective consciousness. As this drama continues to unfold, we encourage each of you, especially the starseeds and light bearers, to remain both vigilant and calm in your discernment. Yes, observe the patterns. Notice the telltale signs of manipulation. the anomalies in data, the uncanny timing of coincidences, the way public information sometimes disappears or changes without explanation. Share your findings through your alternative networks. Shining light on these shadows is part of your role. But do not let this pursuit consume you or drive you into anger and despair. Ground yourselves each day in the knowing that you are more powerful than any of these fear tactics. Refuse the invitation to panic. When you see a story designed to provoke terror, take a breath and reconnect to your heart center before reacting. We advise practicing what some of you might call aqua transmutation meditations. Imagine every artificially agitated raindrop being restored to its original divine harmony as it falls, so that even manipulated weather water returns to nourishing the earth with balanced energy. You might visualize the floodwaters carrying away not just physical debris, but also psychic toxins, cleansing the land of old stagnant fears. Intend that the earth absorbs only the lessons and higher vibrations, releasing the rest. In practical terms, support your Texan brothers and sisters by focusing on grassroots, community-led relief efforts. Trust your neighbors and local groups over large bureaucracies that may have other agendas. By giving and rebuilding locally, you help ensure that opportunists cannot easily exploit this moment to grab land or power. Infuse every donation or helping action with the clear energy of compassion and sovereignty. Finally, do not overlook the presence of the unseen helpers in this event. Express gratitude in your heart for the courageous souls, whether they wear human uniforms or come from the stars, who intervened to protect life and gather truth during the flood. Even if you do not know their names, thank them and imagine surrounding them in light. Gratitude is a powerful multiplier of positive timelines. It affirms that humanity will meet these challenges with grace. In doing all this, you align with the highest possible outcome stemming from the flood. Remember, dear ones, while hidden engineers may plot storms, it is consciousness, your collective free will and awakened heart, that ultimately decides what seeds these waters will sow for the future. Beloved family of light, the waters that swallowed the valleys in Texas have issued a spiritual call to action for every awakened soul. This flood did more than reshape the physical land. It sent ripples through the collective energy field of humanity, calling starseeds and lightworkers to remember why we are here at this pivotal time. You might wonder, what can I do in the face of such a massive, engineered event? The answer begins not in doing, but in being. Our councils in the higher realms remind us that no amount of intellectual analysis or spoken incantation alone can calm an artificially stoked storm. The only force that truly stabilizes chaos is the embodied presence of the living light, the felt nearness of the prime harmonic that some have called God, Source. Thus, this inundation becomes a living classroom for the awakened. It demonstrates that talking endlessly about weather warfare or cabal conspiracies will not by itself bring peace. What will bring peace is a group of individuals entering a state of radiant inner stillness amid the turmoil. When you gather with others to discuss these events, be it around a kitchen table or in an online forum, pause and first cultivate a shared moment of silence and connection to Source. The true purpose of any gathering of lightworkers is to midwife a palpable hush of divine presence in your midst. In that quiet, solutions and insights will arise organically, and the emotional charge of fear will dissipate. One person anchored in a calm heart can prevent 100 others from spiraling into panic. This is why your first assignment as a light emissary in times like these is beautifully paradoxical. Make your inner peace so tangible that it influences the environment more than any words you could say. Texas received an overwhelming rush of water. Now it needs an overwhelming rush of stillness channeled through human vessels. Be one of those still, bright vessels. In practical terms, This means when you hear news of crises, take a moment to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and call in the sensation of divine peace before you react or share the news. Your centered presence is more needed now than ever. Understand that events like storms, earthquakes, or even societal upheavals are stage props in the grand lesson plan of awakening. Time and time again, humanity is shown the duality drama: destruction versus recovery, good versus evil, chaos versus order, so that you may finally transcend the script. In truth, there is only one energy manifesting in many forms, and remembering this oneness is the key to disarming the drama. In Atlantis long ago, initiates had a word for the psychic turbulence that arises when people forget the one and become mired in duality. They called it bar, a kind of shadow static in consciousness. The fearful collective emotions that accompany a flood like this are bar made visible. How do we dissolve it? By refusing to energize the illusion of two opposing forces. The moment you hold firmly to the truth that only the benevolent source energy is real and present, the shadow of its opposite begins to fade. Try this when you feel fear. Whisper inwardly, "Only one divine waveform is here, and it is love." Say it again and again in your heart until you feel your spine relax and a calm warmth spreading in your body. In that simple act, you are withdrawing your consent from the drama of conflict. Your brain's alarm circuits quiet down, and even your endocrine system stops pumping out the fight-or-flight chemistry that contributes to panic in the collective field. Believe us when we say, 10 human beings rooted in such quiet unity of mind can psychically offset thousands of others who are caught in fear. In fact, elders from the Andromedan Council have taught that a dozen sincerely serene hearts create a protective field as effective as a physical levee a mile wide. This is not hyperbole, it is the physics of consciousness. Those peaceful individuals do not deny that a flood is happening, nor do they ignore the material needs of the moment. They simply do not contribute additional fear to worsen the psychic storm. Instead, their vibrations evaporate the fear frequency in the area, helping communities organize recovery with clear minds and courage. So when you donate supplies, raise funds, or volunteer labor, do it from that inner steadiness. If your giving carries anxiety or rage, it inadvertently spreads those energies. But if you breathe, center in the one current of love, and then act, your assistance will arrive imbued with calm. A truckload of food and water delivered with an energy of hope uplifts everyone it touches, encouraging creative solutions rather than despair. This is how you become a true light worker in crises, by tending the frequency you broadcast as carefully as the actions you perform. The most advanced tool of trans-dimensional technology you have at your disposal is your own consciousness. Specifically, the practice of deep stillness and focused intention. We have said it many times, meditation and conscious breathing are not idle luxuries, they are world-healing devices. Even a few minutes of coherent stillness in your day creates ripples that influence events in ways you cannot fully chart with your instruments, though some of your scientists are beginning to measure these effects in resonance and random number generators. We encourage you to experiment with a simple practice now. Sit quietly and draw your awareness to your breath, letting it slow and deepen until you feel a gentle expansion in your chest. Now, either aloud or in your mind, say the words, "I am presence, here and now." Imagine these words lighting up in your heart center, glowing warmly like a small sun beneath your sternum. Don't force anything, just allow that inner light to grow at its own pace. This light you are tuning into is your aspect of the solar logos, the divine spark within you that is one with the source of all. It is the same luminous essence that prophets and masters throughout your history have touched, sometimes described as a burning flame or a descending dove. Feel it as real, because it is real. Once you sense even a glimmer of that warmth or tingling radiance in your chest, gently direct it into your surroundings. You might visualize it flowing down your arms, into your palms and outward, or streaming from your heart in all directions, like an expanding sphere. Now bring to mind the flood-affected regions of Texas, the towns, the rivers, the people and animals. See nothing but that light present there. You are not attacking the flood or fighting anything. You are simply informing every molecule of water, every particle of soil and air in that region, that it too is part of the cosmic harmony. Remind the elements that they do not need to play out chaos any longer. They can return to balance. Some of you may naturally envision violet rays, or emerald green healing spirals, or pure diamond white light. All of these frequencies are various flavors of the one light and can be used according to your intuition. What matters is the loving and confident intention behind them. As you do this, know that water has consciousness and remembers vibrations. The sounds and feelings you emit will be remembered by the water that soaks into the land and groundwater. By singing gently, toning, or even imagining a soothing lullaby as you send light, you imprint the floodwaters with a healing directive. Long after the news has moved on, the water carrying your encoded prayer will flow into wells, streams, and eventually into living cells, spreading calm and balance. In this way, your quiet meditation now can subtly influence crop growth, ecosystem recovery, and the emotional stability of communities months down the line. Such is the power of sacred partnership between human consciousness and the elements. Your light, sent with sincerity, is a carrier wave of transformation. It doesn't matter whether you picture it as rays, ripples, or an enveloping glow. What matters is the purity of your heart as you offer it. We also remind you that while spoken affirmations and sacred words can be potent, their power diminishes if used without humility or true focus. Many of you know mantras, prayers, or affirmations you could speak over the situation. And indeed, a spoken decree can act like a tuning fork, aligning matter with spirit. Yet the Pleiadian teachings caution that one clear thought held with love in the silence of your heart may achieve more than 100 elaborate chants done in anxiety. So we advise a balance. Use simple sacred phrases as touchstones in your mind, rather than broadcasting them in ego or for show. For example, choose a single seed sentence that resonates with you. Something like, "Within this situation, only the highest divine order is at work," or "All elements here realign to the harmony of Source." Once you have your phrase, hold it gently in the back of your mind as you move through your day. Let it hum in your awareness, like a quiet background melody while you do physical tasks or offer help to others. You will find that this silent, persistent prayer in your consciousness begins to emanate from you. It will influence your tone of voice, your posture, and your decisions in beneficial ways. It also creates a field around you that attracts synchronicities. You may notice that the right people and resources cross your path at just the right time. A relief shipment gets rerouted around a closed road, or an overwhelmed family unexpectedly receives exactly what they lack. Understand this is not magic to flaunt, nor simply the universe handing out favors. It is the natural result of field coherence. When your inner world aligns with the principle of divine order, you become a node of stability in the chaos, and life will organize itself more smoothly around that node. If someone later asks you, "How did you manage to coordinate all this aid so perfectly?" Or, "How did you stay so calm and effective through the crisis?" you may feel tempted to point to your spiritual practice, or to share the mantra you used. In some cases, this may help others, but often the most powerful teaching is given without words. So we encourage you to simply smile and give credit to the collective effort or to grace. By not ego-identifying with the results, you keep your frequency high and avoid creating any karmic entanglements or hierarchies. I was the healer, you were the helped. In the new consciousness, leadership is energetic and humble. Remain modest in outer demeanor, but fierce and unwavering in your inner clarity of purpose. Another important practice for star seeds is the art of holy detachment. In physical disasters, as in life, clinging too tightly to material possessions or even specific outcomes can create an energetic anchor that holds you and others in fear. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you cultivate enough inner spaciousness to flow with change, even drastic change, without losing your equilibrium. We mention this because floods and similar events often challenge people by sweeping away the familiar. If your sense of security is overly attached to your home, your car, your keepsakes, then such loss can send you into profound despair or panic. But if you practice detachment, you will respond from a higher awareness, prioritizing life and love over objects. We invite you to gently practice this now as a kind of spiritual exercise. Envision one thing you deeply treasure in your life, perhaps a piece of heirloom furniture, a collection of photographs, or even your house itself. Now imagine you see this object being carried off in the rushing floodwaters. Notice the tug in your heart, the instinct to grab for it. Instead of pushing that feeling away, acknowledge it and then release it. Mentally say, I let you go. Thank you for the time you served me. Be at peace in your new form. See that object dissolving into the flow and allow yourself to feel okay even without it. Then bring your focus back to what can never be swept away, the love in your heart, the connections you have with living souls, and the eternal presence of spirit that is always supporting you. By doing this exercise, you strengthen the muscle of non-attachment. Should a real emergency come, you will be far less shaken by the loss of possessions and far more able to act swiftly and wisely to protect what truly matters: life, safety, each other. Many who survive crises report that a strange clarity comes over them in the decisive moment. They suddenly know exactly what is truly valuable. You, as a light bearer, can cultivate that clarity in advance. Your calm example in the midst of actual turmoil will silently teach others that life continues and the soul endures, even when the trappings of civilization are stripped away. This trust in the higher flow is contagious and will help those around you release panic and find hope. Lastly, we urge you to commit to an ongoing rhythm of conscious action and intention, especially in the aftermath of events like the Texas flooding. Grand one-time gestures are less effective than steady, purposeful dedication. What might such a rhythm look like? At dawn, you might spend 5 minutes in meditation, specifically aligning with the collective highest good. Visualize a gentle light spreading over Texas as the sun rises, affirming that every water molecule, every living being there is returning to balance. Midday, do a quick check-in. Are you centered, or have the morning's news and tasks pulled you off balance? If you've been absorbing stress, take a few deep breaths, realign with your heart, and perhaps silently repeat your seed affirmation to retune your field. In the evening, as the stars emerge, imagine the entire region bathed in a protective sapphire blue light. See this light permeating the ground, illuminating any hidden pockets of fear or pain below the surface, and dissolving them. Envision also that any secret tunnels of negativity, both literal and metaphorical, are being gently flooded with this blue light, causing any remaining dark intentions to crumble away. By setting and maintaining such a daily cadence of intentional focus, you generate a powerful cumulative effect. We in the higher realms can amplify your efforts when they are consistent and heart-driven. In fact, if even a relatively small number of dedicated lightworkers, say 100 of you, hold such a synchronization of intent for certain focused period, for example 48 consecutive days, the energetic momentum created can tangibly influence physical outcomes. You may find that weather patterns in the area stabilize in the coming seasons, resisting any artificial interference. This is not wishful thinking, but part of the quantum nature of reality. Collective human intent, aligned with the true harmonic of love, can alter probabilities and bring chaotic systems into order. Already your scientists measure shifts in the Earth's Schumann resonance when large meditations occur. Imagine what local and global conditions you can shape with regular, coordinated, love-directed thought. Know that you were born for exactly these moments. As starseeds, old souls, and awakening humans, you came into this world not just to observe the great changes, but to actively co-create them through consciousness. A flood, a fire, a political upheaval. None of these must lead to doom, because you carry the alchemical keys within your awareness to transform any situation. Stand tall in this knowledge of your sovereignty. When you hold that stance, calm, loving, and unyielding in faith, the very forces of nature respond. The water, the wind, the earth recognize your mastery and will collaborate with you rather than rage against you. Even the Guadalupe River, which we perceive as a living being, can feel the solace of your collective love and stabilize its course. Dear ones, take heart from all that has happened. Within the recent flooding lies a powerful revelation of both the shadows at work and the light rising to meet them. You are not victims of this story. You are key players and authors of the next chapter. Continue to watch, to learn, to heal, and to send your love where it's needed. We, the Pleiadians, along with many benevolent beings, walk beside you through every challenge. Together, we will guide these turbulent waters toward the highest outcome, an awakened humanity and a world restored to balance. Stay in your love, stay in your power, and remember, the darkest storm cannot withstand the radiance of even a single enlightened heart, let alone the many that are now awakening. We love you and support you always. I am Valir, and I am blessed to have shared this with you all today.